What's happening? All right, I'm here today with my buddy Steve Branch, and I know he's busy as can be, but I appreciate him taking time. I just wanted to sit down with him just a minute, share with him a little bit. One of the things that I believe, Steve, is this.
Yes.
I believe there are treasures. I believe there's people that have advice, that have wisdom, have experience that you can't get other places. And
Yes,
I
sir.
believe they're here in the mountains.
Yeah.
They're treasures. I believe that. And when I think about that, I mean, my Lord, you've had some life experience. It's tremendous. Okay, and you can't get that in college. You can't get that out of a book.
No, sir.
And I believe you've got that. Okay, and I respect you for that. It's important that we do those things and do those. Well, Steve, tell me about this church.
Oh my word! How long you got this thing? What we experience. The good news is, it's not just us, but we're seeing a breakthrough. Men and women being delivered from drugs,
Okay.
and lives are being transformed. Matter of fact, we got a team going to Bristol this Saturday to go
Okay.
feed the hungry, and it's led by these men and women who've been there, done that,
Right.
and Jesus set free.
Yeah.
And that they're just wanting to go and share the good news, give out clothes, give out whatever they can, and
Right.
just to give hope to the people. But
Yeah.
that's what we're seeing, and it's been so many miracles what God has been doing in people's lives.
Yeah.
And it's not Steve Branch, it's not Destiny, it's just pure old Jesus, man. I love it when it gets
Right.
like that.
Absolutely. Well, I think too, as you're sharing too, are there people when we talk about doing what they're talking about doing? I mean, are there people in those areas are there homeless? Are there people that need help? Are they there?
Yes, sir. They are there. And that was kind of a shock to me, they go up there, probably 50 or 60 people up there. They'll be coming. Matter of fact, they got a gentleman coming and doing haircuts.
Huh.
And a little girl, they said last time they went, they do once a month. And they said this little 8-year-old girl, her hair, she was on the streets, living homeless.
Right.
And her hair was all matted up. And they got in there and he cut her hair. And she was just blown away, and he braided it for her.
Yeah.
Over here at the whole Old Town,
Right.
Corey Brewster.
Uh-huh.
And I'm telling you, these guys are sacrificing.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing them come. We had a gentleman last night minister.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm just seeing these guys step up, and the maturity that they're doing and going and just
Right.
being, it's just mind blowing. It's
Yeah.
exciting.
One of the things I think we see, and this is what happens, the need looks so big that people don't know how to help. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Right. Yes, sir.
And so have you seen that in people? Sometimes people just seem like they don't know what to do. They want to help,
Right.
but they really don't know how to start or what to do. We shared this some like with people in North Carolina and places like
Oh,
that. They're
yeah.
going through the catastrophe. But they really recommend you don't just come in there with a shovel and do something, but you contact somebody and you have a relationship. But I think there's people that want to help, like you're talking about.
Yes, sir.
But how would they start? What would they do?
You know how they started? They were on the streets.
Mhm.
They were on the streets. They gave their testimonies. Brother Aaron and Christy, they were down in Myrtle Beach, and they were freezing to death. They would sometimes a door of a hotel would be open. They would go in and sleep. And one day they were so cold on the beach that he begged somebody upstairs to please give me a blanket.
Right.
And he overdosed. And if you know anything about Narcan, usually 2 shots you'd get back, but he had 4. He
Nice.
was dead, and he was blue
Yeah.
and cold, and God just raised him up. And he said, Pastor, that's what God did for me. And so his experience is he's taking him back to help people where he was at.
Right.
And it's been amazing, but they're excited. They're probably like 20, 30 people
Man.
last month go from different churches too. That's a good thing.
That's great. Yeah.
And
yeah.
just go and
Yeah.
clothes and whatever they can do to help, man.
Man, that's tremendous. You know, sometimes you just got to do something.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, a lot of times we're waiting to do it when it's perfect.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got to do something. I had a fellow a while back, he was telling me about wanting to pastor a church and wanting to do this. And I said, listen, what you need to do before you do that, you need to get you about 10 folding chairs.
Yeah.
And get you one of those expandable tents like you get that come in the sleeve,
Right.
like they sell at Walmart and Sam's.
Right.
And stretch it out. Get you somebody to come along and play guitar. They always do. And I said, start there first.
Right.
And then I said, but you need to use something.
Yeah, do something.
Do something until you can do something.
What's in
better.
your hand?
Exactly.
You know, take your bed up and walk. And I think that's a lot of the
Yeah.
problem. We're waiting for like you said, the perfection. We're not going to get it.
Right.
And if we don't start, it never get done.
Right.
And I think that's what we're waiting on. And somehow we're waiting for a big revelation. But I think the revelation is Jesus Christ has saved us. And go out and tell other people about me. You don't have to get up there, like you said, doing things. Some of our people been saved now about 2-3 years, and they're on fire for Jesus. Right. And I got mosh pitted one night by one of these guys, and I thought to myself, I was like, man, I said, what are people going to think? This guy came bouncing off of me and just in worship and dancing, and he hit me, and he fell, but I don't think he fell, John. But I was thinking in my mind, I said, what are people going to think? But it hit me. He said, if you knew where this guy came from, you too would be dancing. We forgot where we came from. This guy he was in Oregon, and on the streets of Washington, and his purpose, he said, I want to die. I literally suicide on the streets.
Man.
That was his hope. That was his, that's what he felt like. I have no more hope. I met him at Applebee's. Beautiful. I met him one day, and he was a waiter. I didn't know him.
Right.
And he came up there, and he came up and talked to me. He said, I've got to meet this guy. He said, he's funnier than I am.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my word. And 2 years later, he came back, and I told him about Celebrate Recovery and what God can do in his life.
Right.
2 years later or so, he came back. He said, do you remember me? I said, no. He said, I'm the guy you met at Applebee's.
Beautiful.
And man, now he's heading up a ministry.
Yeah.
And what God is doing, and he's going hard at it, man. What God, it's just, again, not forgetting where we came from.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. I think it's beautiful. All right, let's touch on a topic here that I want to hit on this a little bit. And how long have you pastored?
Pastored? Probably I was ordained in 1976, 78, something like that. So what, about 50 years?
So you started when you was like 10?
Yes, 2, 3. I was really 2.
Okay. All right, so what we think about, there's pastors, and this is a theory that I have, okay? And I believe everything's flexible. I mean, I understand this, but some pastors get into doing some things, and not just pastors, but evangelists, and they seem like they get all out of whack, and they're always tired, and their families are catastrophes.
Yeah.
And I believe what happens is sometimes we do everything we can do instead of what God has told us to do.
Yes, sir.
And you can overload yourself.
Yes, sir.
I believe that Noah built one ark. It wasn't an ark ministry.
Right.
He didn't go from town to town teaching people how to build arks. That's good work. And I think that when we focus on and I think I think there's a natural gift, and then there's a gift we learn.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, and so when this natural part of you, I believe the apostolic calling is a manager too. Right. I believe you can manage, and you manage gifted people.
Yes, sir.
And I've shared before, there's gifted people that are on the edge of crazy.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Because they're so gifted.
Yeah.
It's like
they're out there.
They're out there. So it takes somebody to sort of help direct them.
Yeah.
And to guide them. And I mean, do you see those type of things in the ministry?
I do. I do, and I think that's a lot of the pastors. They don't have I don't know. If I could go back, I would do more in the art or skill of ministration, because I think that's where a lot of pastors fail, because they can preach, but we think somehow pastoring is just the pulpit, and it's not. No. It's other things. It's taking that, like you said, and shepherding and helping, that we begin to raise up the flock, because. Here's how I feel. Pastors birth pastors. Sheep birth sheep. Now we're good at getting people to make a decision, but we're terrible about making disciples.
Right.
And that's what we're focusing on now, is making disciples, not trying a cult or anything like that.
Right.
But some of these guys have been saved, they don't even know the word.
Right. And
it's not that we're challenging them. We know more about the blessings of God, but also the holiness and righteousness of God, that God wants to live through us.
Yeah.
And it's that love we have from the pew out here. I said, this is the mission field.